Since the 1980s, people have been fleeing downtown Indianapolis. They were headed towards the suburbs. Today's guest did the exact opposite. Greg Enas spent 30 years at Eli Lilly in executive leadership, and once he retired, he should have moved to the beach and played some golf. Instead, he is the most connected man in Indianapolis. His calling is to make Indianapolis the joy capital of the world, and in this episode, he's going to tell us exactly how.
Welcome back to the Roots Podcast. I am your host, Tyler Lingle, along with my co-host, Max Moore, and today we are here with Greg Enas, a friend, a longtime Indy resident, and a redemptive entrepreneur. So, Greg, thanks for coming on to the show with us today.
Thanks, Tyler and Max. Great to be here.
I love your energy. You always show up with a smile, talking about a million things you're working on, going to Northern Indiana, doing this, me and this person. So, appreciate the energy you bring into any room you're in.
Well, I need to keep driving before gas prices get really, really, really high. So, I'm trying to make...
No, we can't fearmonger too much.
Oh man, the gas prices are rough, aren't they? In the $4.
They went down and I think they're back up. I try not to pay attention.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
I'm blind to it. Driving my electric car.
Some of us are lucky.
Well, we'll jump into it here, Greg. I once heard from somebody that you're the most connected person in Indianapolis. How do you network your way to being that connected and that centered in Indy?
Well, I don't know personally if I'm the most connected.
There's not a leaderboard somewhere.
That's right. No
Scott
leaderboard.
Lingle would confirm. My dad is like, you got to meet Greg. Well, he knows everyone. And he reads 50 books a year and leaves a huge review of it. But
well, that being said, when I came here to Indianapolis, I immediately was given the gift of a number of guys. We were all unmarried at the time. And they each represented different populations. But we all came together. A friend of mine, Jim Long, we bought a home downtown Indy, 12th and Central, bought it on contract for $50,000. And now it's worth, 10x, if not more.
If not more.
12th and Unfortunately, we had to sell. I had to.
That might be the best real estate investment ever.
It was great.
Like you win.
But the neat thing about that, to the point about dense network and connectedness, is that at the time, that neighborhood was right south of 23rd and College, known as Dodge City. And bullets were flying, there were gangs, kids were not getting educated. Businesses had moved out. And we moved there because we were serving with our friend Percy Scruggs at the Community Outreach Center, where he represented the African-American community in that neighborhood. And so Jim and I represented two different populations. Then Jim had friends that came and lived with us. We had guys, I was telling AJ, we had a bunch of guys living with us that served in mission. And through the intersection of the guys in the house, working in the community, and then my background working at Lilly, I had baked in networks that I was at the intersection of. And because I'm called to give love and receive love, love your neighbor as yourself is what Jesus commanded. I've sought to embrace that. And I'll tell you, I've been selfish. I've been the most unloving of persons, but truly the greatest of these is love. And through that, just loving, whether beyond the job, loving my staff, loving my colleagues, loving the neighbors, loving the community that I was in, and loving the guys that I was in relationship with, and them starting to bring people together, it just happened naturally because of love and service and hospitality that way.
So often we're like, what are we going to do? We want to buy this building, build this huge business, make these grand plans. And you're like stuck in your head.
Right.
But you need to get down to your heart.
That's right.
And realize like if you're with the right people, the Lord's going to provide the path. Like
that's right.
Man makes plans, but the Lord chooses his steps, right?
That's right.
That proverb.
Yes.
And so I think you're a reminder of that even while you were talking about like Brett, a friend of ours in Northern Indiana, Brett's he has a seed company and then he's buying multifamily. And I'm like, I got to keep up with Brett.
No.
And it's like, no, maybe I just need to love on Brett.
That's right.
And bring him into it. And he's going to show the path, right? It's the relationship shines the light forward.
That's right, Tyler. Jesus said, come. Andrew said to his brother, come and see. Jesus was off here. It's that whole notion of come. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. All you have to do is open up your life and say, come if you want to. Come and be with me.
I think the Lord knows the desires on our heart, right?
That's right.
Like he says he will give you the desires of your heart, but your desires will change when you give him your heart.
Definitely.
Is the key. So
that's right.
We're going to be used. It's just a matter of who will be used by.
That's right. And of course, you'll know where your heart is. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So the key indicator of where your heart is where you're allocating your time, your talent, and your treasure.
Where does the deep-rooted faith, where was that sprouted from?
Well, I give thanks to God for allowing me to be raised by two wonderful parents. My mom and dad both love Jesus. Their parents love Jesus. And it's a long story, but I was the oldest of 6 kids. And every night, my dad would sit all 6 kids down. And I'll admit, we didn't have a television until I was 13 years old. So we had to read. Tyler, you're mentioning all the books I read. I just love reading because I wasn't.
This guy's reading.
I wasn't allowed to watch
remote
television.
Historical books of like Abraham Lincoln's account in the Civil War. Like, yeah, you're reading some crazy stuff. I've seen your book list.
But it was a blessing. Now we felt bad and mad because we couldn't have television. We didn't have all these distractions. Our neighbors did. We'd always try to sneak off if we could.
It was a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing in disguise. My mom and dad loved us in the love of Jesus. And every night we would sit down, and my dad, who was a pastor at heart, but he could not accomplish the vocational task of being a pastor. World War II had shot his nerves, and so he couldn't have a public presence. But he'd sit us down and say, boys, at the time my sister wasn't born, boys, exegete. And we would get into the Word of God. We would argue about it. We would dispute. My dad said there's no discussion off limits. And through the lens of Scripture, we would hit on every topic known to man. Our house was not a safe place. You know why? There was love, but every idea was on the table. And that way it wasn't safe. Was it safe from violence? Yes. Was it safe from, misogyny and theft and all that? It was so safe. But it wasn't safe when it came to ideas and using the lens of Scripture to look at the world, look at all of creation. And so that's really the formative part of my life is having that deep-rooted faith and saying, man, there's a man named Jesus Christ who is the Son of God and allows me to live in freedom. Yes, because 1 John says you'll know the truth and the truth will set you free. And my mom and dad really believed that and allowed us to embrace that growing up.
I love that. It fires me up to slam the doors open and allow the Spirit into my home. And as I start a family and raise a young son and raise him in the Word and sprout that up, we're going to do something really cool later this year. And that's one of the reasons we had you on the podcast was for Indy Street Sweep that we're planning on July 7th. 777 of us are going to hit the streets and pick up trash and better the city. Where was that vision? Where did that come from?
Well, I've always loved this city, and I've always believed that we need safe streets and safe neighborhoods. And it's, you may have heard of the broken windows policy. And if you don't take care of the broken windows in the vacant homes or other homes, pretty soon everything else is going to go downstream. Well, one metric of pride and ownership, of course, is there litter and trash around. And so I think Max through Ethan Fernhaber, Ethan said Max has this idea, and I think you were the one that brought this beautiful concept of picking up trash.
Picking up the
because
trash.
I know that's what Roots does. You guys are leading the way here. Yeah. But the whole vision is how do we get this group of guys from Citizen 7, and we now have about 1,500 guys on the mailing list, lots of small groups forming, but we haven't done mission together. How do we get guys and others in the city doing something that brings guys together on mission? That's where guys form friendships. And then guys said, well, can I bring my spouse or friends or others and family? I know you're open to anybody doing this. Anyone
just
pick up
open
trash.
the door completely.
It opened the door, but the whole thing is, it's not so much we're going to do good for the city, but I'm going to be with men and women, young and old, black and white and brown, that can form friendships, because the power of friendship on mission. And as friends, we're going to have a lot of fun picking up trash. I'm going to be at Watkins Park there at 23rd and MLK and can't wait.
What I love is I think a lot of people in this day and age, are cynical of Christians and think we're like bigoted or judgmental. But when I think people in Indy are driving to work and they see a massive amount of people out cleaning trash when the sun's rising.
People are going to think something's wrong. Why are all these people outside with trash
But
bags?
then they hear like, oh, this was the Christian group.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I think paradigms will shift. Like, oh, maybe this Christ this Jesus thing, this reason is real.
That's right.
And if we do it not once, but year after year after year,
That's right.
what will that do to a city?
Yes.
Well, one, it'll be a lot cleaner.
That's right.
But two, I think there will just be much more belief in the actual hands and feet of Jesus.
Yes.
Because that's ultimately what this is about. It's not about Roots. It's not about Citizen 7. Who cares about us?
That's right.
It's about being the hands and feet of Christ.
That's
And I
right.
completely agree. When you're operating in that way, it's the best conversations. It's the best discussions, and you dive to a level 3 conversation really quick.
That's right.
And that's why I like going to the street swoops myself. We've had 4 best conversations ever. I don't even know who I'm next to, but we're swatting mosquitoes and avoiding poison ivy and just having an absolute blast.
Picking up trash and making an impact. My favorite part thus far of planning this has been the congregations that have reached out. All these different leaders of different congregations with that represent the population of the city are wanting to get into the streets and walk with one another.
That's right.
And that's unique. That doesn't happen in many cities.
Right.
And it's going to be so good.
What really stirred my heart is, I believe this is true, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were invited in by the Parks Department to serve in these particular 21 or 23 different parks.
Yeah, they give us a list of 21 parks. They are supplying everything that we need.
That's right.
The government is paying for the trash bags, the gloves, and everything to keep us safe. And we'll be picking up the trash behind us. And they're excited about it because July 4th is just a few days ahead.
That's right. Well, again, the notion of invitation, not we're going to come in and we're going to be the big man here and shape you guys up. No, where can we be invited? And we're invited because we're winsome. We want to be humble and saying, yeah, please come into my neighborhood and be with us here. That's beautiful. So I'm really excited, and thank you so much, you guys, for taking the lead and leading by example already.
Yeah, we love it.
We need a lot more guys, though, don't we? We need
we
need a lot
these
more
hats on that say Roots.
That's right.
Are you going to actually do that and care about your roots? Or are we just going to be a brand that has a nice font, right? So
That's
I think
right.
it's up to us to do that.
Deep root.
Quick pause here, because if you're an investor in Indianapolis, access matters. That's why we work closely with Tony Boutros at Indy Homes Reborn. He's one of our main sources for off-market wholesale deals and consistently brings strong opportunities to our agents in our investor network. Click the link in our bio to get access to what Indy Homes Reborn has available.
So you know what I learned about trees recently? Guy East gave me this tip on a book about trees. And even when a tree is cut down and all that's left is that stump in the ground, guess what remains underneath? Those roots are still there. And you have to do something extraordinary to pull all the roots out, because that root system is extensive. It's the roots that bring life. And some trees actually regenerate, even though you can cut them down, because those roots are still there. Or if you look at aspen groves, those groves last forever because the roots are interconnected tree to tree. It's not just one root, a root system per tree. It's the whole cluster, the whole grove of trees that are feeding off each other. So I love your brand because it's not just about you. It's about what's happening underneath the city. And there's someone in this room that wants to fall in love with Indianapolis. And I'll tell you what happens is that when those roots start to spawn and see something on top of the surface start to grow, that's when love can happen, because you don't know what's happening now. We can get discouraged what's happening now. We can read the newspaper about what's happening now and whatever, but God is doing something beautiful underneath, and it's going to germinate.
I think what's interesting, and an agent on our team, Ian, always talks about this. He's like, people always want to move to the beaches or the mountains or the good weather, and they're always talking about, I'm going to go to somewhere cool and then maybe plant my roots.
Yes.
But our idea is inverting it. What if you planted roots where you were now?
That's right.
So I don't see why people don't see what we're doing 777 from Cleveland or Fort Wayne and say, hey, we need to plant roots here.
That's right.
And do it in a way that shows we love and live in the way of Christ. So I don't think you can truly plant roots in a genuine way without the faith, right? Like, I mean, it's very difficult, right? There's usually an ulterior motive or something or virtue signaling, but it's like if you're truly planting roots, then that means you care for the long haul.
That's right.
It's not a me, my life, where I live. It's a long-term investing in a place. And so that's also why we work with real estate investors. It's the same perspective, right? you have to care about the capital that's being poured into your city,
Right.
right? That creates the environment that you're in.
One thing I'm really excited about to that is creating Indianapolis as the joy capital of the world. Joy is a long-term, infinite game thing. You know, Hebrews says, for the joy set before him, Jesus endured the cross and suffered the shame. He was not happy. He was not smiling when he was pierced in the side and nailed to the cross, or even when he was rejected by his own disciples. You know, those aren't happy events. Happiness depends on circumstance, but if you're playing the long game, to your point, you got roots deep. Joy is the product of a good God and a hard God, right? He said he does things that we don't often understand, but it's for his good purposes, planted in him, that we can have this joy just ooze out of us, just like Jesus on the cross. And so that's why I love planting roots. I'm from California. My family would love to have me back there, and I'd love to be out there, the beaches, you know, the sunshine, the high taxes.
Example.
You know, I could buy a tent, not a house, but you know, but still, no. Thankfully, my wife and I have decided, no, God has us planted roots right here because of that.
The joy capital of the world.
There you
I
go.
love it. That's such a good
That's awesome.
tagline.
I think we're going to do it.
We are.
I think we will too.
We might
I wanna
be
follow
there.
You guys.
We might be there now. People just have to join
That's
the
right.
community.
That's right.
Driving over here, I was Rex Fisher called me out of the blue to tell me about a statistic that he saw with Chicago being the front runner of the median home value increase across America. Just a recent study that he had seen, and talking about how Indianapolis will play off of that, and that we will be the neighboring beneficiary of that rise because Indy is rising as well. And he was just talking, getting me all hyped up on Indianapolis. And then I asked him, I just said, hey, we're having Greg on the podcast. What's a curiosity I should have for him? And what he shared is that you were one of the first to come in and to start investing here and to mobilize into the city. And his curiosity was, what did people say to you when you were moving into the city?
Yeah.
What were some commentary that you were receiving?
Well, that's
You were passing moving trucks going the opposite way.
That's right. That's a great question because all my Lilly colleagues were not in the city back in the 80s. They thought I was the weirdest guy. They couldn't believe it. I'll never forget, though. One of my colleagues, dear friend, he didn't really know me real well up front. He saw me because I was driving home on Delaware, packed traffic downtown, rush hour traffic on Delaware, coming up from Lilly Corporate Center to my home at 12th and Central that I told you about. And a guy had a flat tire in front of me. I stopped and I helped him. My friend happened to drive by me because he was on his way out to the suburbs. And he came to me the next day and said, Greg, I noticed what you did. That really meant a lot to me. And I see now why you're here in the city, because you stopped and helped that guy. It was my neighborhood. I couldn't just blow through, drive through to get up to Hamilton County. That was my neighborhood. I love Hamilton County, by the way. But that's sort of an emblematic of your question there is, I was thought as some of a weird guy, you know, Lilly guy. People did not live downtown back in the 80s, but that's where God had called me. And I was just able to be a little pawn there, an instrument of God's at that time.
What was it that stirred you towards planting roots 12th and Central? You know, you're working at Lilly, they're about 10 minutes apart. What was it that stirred you to double down on downtown Indianapolis when, let's be honest, Bottle Works wasn't there? You know, it wasn't, I don't even know, you know, if Lucas Oil wasn't there. Like, it wasn't like this cool place that it is today. Coming from California, you know, why did you double down on Indianapolis?
I've always had a heart for the city. My city where I grew up was a broken city during the 60s, tumultuous. Even though there was lots of free love and hippies and yippies, you know, it was a culturally tumultuous time with, you know, the Black Panthers were formed there, with Vietnam War doing that. So the whole notion of looking back at race problems and war and dominance and U.S. oppression and whatnot, that was part of my fabric, my DNA growing up. And I saw government money being poured in to our schools there and into the city, and yet it was squandered. It didn't bring life to anyone who was oppressed. It didn't bring joy, to anyone. So I've always had this heart, what's going on in urban context? Then I went to school in LA, big urban context. I was sort of sequestered because it was a suburban school. But I went to grad school in Richmond, Virginia, back downtown Richmond. And we tried to serve in the community there. And I saw the same kinds of things, that the urban life for me was where my heart was. So when I moved here to Indy, my friend invited me to start to mentor young boys who were going to Tech High School, and at the time, Manual High School down there on Madison. And so started mentoring them, and they were working with a guy named Percy Scruggs at 23rd and Central, near 12th and Central. And we decided we'd love to live in this neighborhood and plant our roots here, because we want not just to float in with these guys and leave them after an hour or two. We were coaching basketball, so sometimes it was 3 or 4 hours, but it was still that notion of coming in and then exiting, and having that rhythm. What if we were to do life with these guys? And then we thought, what if we put them to work? Let's pay them a fair wage, have them provide sweat equity, because we had to rehab that old home built in 1903. Back then homes were being cut up into apartments because families weren't living downtown. Right. So we hired them. We were their neighbors. We were just a mile away or less from them. And that was a beautiful situation that reinforced, Greg, the urban life is where you need to be. So I've always had a heart for downtown Indy. We don't have suburbs unless we have a downtown Indy, because you can't be a suburb of nothing.
Right.
And so this is where, and it's where Lilly Corporate Center is. And I don't know if you remember back younger days, you guys are young men, but Lilly Corporate used to be separate from downtown Indy, the railroad tracks. And it was like a desert to walk up to Monument Circle. Now it's getting connected with City Way and that kind of thing. But, from Lilly Corporate through Slippery Noodle up Meridian, and, it was like, that's a long haul. We were so disconnected. So I've always had it for connection in urban Indianapolis.
Quick break for a second. If you're doing any kind of renovation work in Indy, you already know finding the right vendor partners is half the battle. It might be the entire battle. Best Flooring is one of those partners for us. Phil Nelson and his crew offer the best selection out there, from a single bathroom refresh to a full gut job. Check them out at Best Flooring on Lake Plaza Drive. Use Apple Maps to get there, or Google Maps, whichever one of your choice. Phil's got floors and you need them. Call him up.
Yeah, it's funny. Rex Fisher, same person that was in Max's story, told me my first year in real estate, he was like, you know what? The number one city that people leave after 5 p.m. and leave the city, like the mass exodus towards the suburbs. I was like, well, I'm guessing Indy. He was like, no, Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're number 2.
We're number 2. Okay.
I was going to say,
Number
like
2.
we've got enough
Hertz.
parking lots to be number one.
Number 2 in the amount of people that work inside the metropolitan area and
Yeah.
then leave after 5 p.m. to go home.
Yep.
And so property taxes, schools,
Right.
all parks, rec, everything is going to be awesome in Hendricks or Hamilton County or Hancock.
That's
but
right.
the money doesn't stay besides sale tax if you go to lunch. That's it.
That's right.
Tiny little sliver, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's important that there are people that choose to live in the heart of the city, because
That's right.
it is the heartbeat.
Yeah.
You
And we
have
are, and it is COVID and what happened then, sort of brought it down. We've lost a lot of momentum in our city. I lament that, but it's going to come back with you.
What are you seeing? Yeah.
I think it will come back. I mean, I grew up on the west side of Indianapolis in a suburb, and it was foreign land to travel downtown. And then I started working in real estate downtown, and the majority of my transactions are not in Hendricks County, even though it's where my network is, because I've been in this urban place. And my wife and I are moving into the city from Danville in the next week.
Congratulations.
We're closing on a home and coming in. So
What neighborhood are you moving into?
we'll be in Nora, so we're not like totally downtown,
no,
but
no,
it's
that's
Marion
Most
County.
suburban of Indy, but
That's
still,
right.
Indianapolis. It's a stepping
Suburb
stone.
life.
it's a stepping stone.
That's right.
Because when I started, it was like I met with him downtown at a coffee shop that's not even the same place anymore. I think Java facilitates it now, and it was like that was foreign to me.
Yeah.
Like, where are we?
We're meeting at 52nd and what? I don't even know. And now it's like I'm here. I'm in the city every single day, and it feels like an exodus every day. I'm like I'm leaving the people that I'm loving on from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I'm going home to this foreign land.
Right.
To lay my head, and I went to my wife. I'm like, I'm over it.
Yes.
We're moving in,
Right.
and our doors are wide open, and it's going to be a place of worship and invite neighbors in. And
We need you. That's beautiful. I was reading today, Simon Properties had bought up some of South Meridian there, and they just announced today they're putting in Old Red. Did you see that news today?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So Blake Shelton,
There's a clip for you.
That's his song, and then the Simon. I forget the Simon guy, but they were talking what Indy has and we're known for now is sports. But Blake Shelton said sports and country music, and he's all fired up about Old Red being here. But I thought to myself, that's beautiful, but it's not good enough. Not everyone can pay for sports or be involved with sports. There's lots of feeders with hospitality, right? And then we have the racetrack, and then country music. I mean, to tell the truth, I'm not a big country music fan, but because I'm a horrible square dancer, a line dancer. I'm just no good. But that's great. But what about everything else outside of that? That there's more to life than just sports, which can wear on you. I mean, NBA playoffs are on now. And there's some good play, but pretty soon it's like
3 months long.
Yeah, come on, let's go. So the point is, I love the announcement, but it's people like you, Max, saying, I'm going to move in here. I'm going to welcome my neighbors in, neighbors that may not be able to take advantage of sports and country music. I'm thankful for everything going on. So let's keep going and see the city really pop.
Yeah. I hope people follow my footsteps.
Yeah. What is the biggest change you've noticed? You've lived downtown for decades at this point. What is the biggest change you've noticed over time, and where do you think the trajectory of Indy's going?
Well, that's a great question. When I said I sense a loss of momentum, we see the news, violence, gun violence, and there is, the family breakdown here in the city. We've seen the loss of local capital. The banks most of the banks in town are not local indigenous banks, they're national banks. The point is, when you lose ownership, when you lose capital-driven ownership and stewardship of the city, you lose that spirit. And so that's what I've seen is we've lost a sense of ownership for the city. That's why we have had this homeless problem, and how are we going to love those that aren't unhoused and do right for them? How about the streets? How about the potholes? As Bob Osley, who's running for mayor and a wonderful friend, has said he wants black velvet. But given the federal allocations for road paving, you have to pay as much per mile for a 4-lane road or a 6-lane road as you do for a 2-lane road. So a lot of roads are beautiful in some counties because they're paying for just 2 lanes for 1 mile. We have to spread that black velvet around to cover 4, 6, 8 lanes. So that's just another symbol of some things that we have to adjust. Family formation, housing, good jobs here in town, but good schools for our kids. Appreciate that there's been some tumult on the educational side. I think there's some structures being put in place that hopefully will animate every kid receiving a wonderful education and being all that they can be made in God's image. So I am very hopeful about some of those moves, but we need strong leadership here in the city, a real vision for the city. Amateur sports capital of the world was a vision 20 years ago. Christian Anderson and others are touting Speed City. You talk to Dave Neff, who's chairman now of the Indy, the 500 Festival, and Christian at High Alpha. I love that notion. Speed to relationship, speed to family formation, speed to education. In other words, not speed that kills, but speed to something that brings life. So that's where I'm hoping the momentum changes, and that whole notion of speed just jives with momentum, and energy and getting there quick.
As long as people don't think of the drug, right?
That's
the first
right.
thing came to mind was like,
No, but this is the first that came to mind.
the first thing came to mind, Speed City. Unfortunately, I was like,
And for me, speed to joy.
yeah,
Speed
it's
to
great.
joy.
What if this city just captivated residents and guests alike, and you just sort of walked into an experience saying, this is mine?
Where do you
I'm
think
thankful.
that brand comes from? Is that the leadership? Is that grassroots? How does a city rebrand?
I think it's both. So I'm working at the grassroots level, but with people like Vop and Dave Neff and Christian, who have more public personas given the institutions they lead, but it's going to come also from people willing to run for office.
Yeah.
Right now it's a little scary being a politician. Your house might get shot up. Your house might be burned down. So we need fearless people being incubated in institutions, who've led and grown institutions saying, I want to do public service and do it right. Not just for my own ego, but because I love this city. So we need that there. We need strong churches. Ethan Fernhaber with Multiply Indiana and Together Indy, trying to develop pastoral networks saying, we aren't here to grow mega churches necessarily. We're here to love our neighbors. My metric is this: how many folks are walking to church? Ooh. All of a sudden,
question.
that big number starts dropping way down, right?
What if I ride an e-bike?
Okay, that's close. Pedal your way there
Pedal my
as
way
much
there.
as possible. That's even better.
Yeah.
But the point, ride your bike or walk to church. But that's the grassroots level.
Yeah.
And jobs that you can go to. We have Polk Stables. We're sort of out in front of, it's not a high density work, live, play area there at 16th and Monon, but there's some energy being generated now about job creation, people walking to work, walking to joy, being in community, seeing people, black, white, brown, low socioeconomic, higher socioeconomic status coming together, that's Citizen 7. So those are all organic grassroots efforts, but it needs leadership too to make sure that vision. I'm going to share with you my website that my friend Joel Austin put together for me with some guidance from me on what are the 10 indices that actually allow one to assess whether we're the joy capital of the world or not. And it boils down to housing. It boils down to home formation. Are dads loving for life the mothers of their children? And that spans socioeconomic status. There's lots of affluent families where that's not the case. It's not just, in the hood that we're talking about. It's everywhere. Job creation. What are we doing relative to infrastructure in the city? Are our streets safe? How many of you have bent rims, and flat tires? I do.
Yeah.
Just on Meridian, one of the best, most paved streets in the city, boom, wrecked my wife's car. So all those things flow together, but you need upfront top leadership. I'm really proud of our state for pushing back against redistricting. Here I'm getting on political terms, but I'm not a politician. But I think Indiana has the guts to really lead the nation in leadership for a thriving, flourishing community if we hold fast to our values.
Pause. A quick break from the episode. The lender you choose will make or break your experience. That's why our team at Roots consistently works with Renato Lima from Approved Mortgage. He communicates clearly, moves quickly, and understands both retail and investment loans at a high level. When my guy Renato's on the deal, things move steady. When you get serious about buying, click the link in the description and contact Renato today. The values can be felt like just so quickly being here. And it's hard to almost describe to somebody who's not.
You
from
go to
here.
Chicago and then come back here. You feel the warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel the
Very different.
Well, you feel the green space. Number one, it's a lot of concrete there.
Yeah.
You just feel like there's actually trees and grass and houses with yards, even downtown.
Yeah.
Are you going to become an Indiana Bears fan?
Indiana Bears. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. I heard that most residents would disown the team if they moved to Indiana. So I don't know if they can save face.
No.
What I think is most impressive is that you had a long career at Eli Lilly. I believe it was primarily Eli Lilly.
That's right. Almost 30 years.
And you probably could have retired, moved to some country club, play golf all day, pickleball, whatever.
Right.
But
If I could play
instead,
golf, but-
I think you said it. You're working harder than you ever had now.
Yeah, right.
On this impact-driven activation.
Right.
What does a day in the life look like doing this? How does someone do this? Who's like,
First of all,
I don't want
my-
to retire and live off my 401k.
Drive
and
my wife crazy. She says I'm working 3 times as hard for no pay.
It's like, honey, I thought we were going to have a nice.
But it truly is. It's born out of. I pray and hope it's born out of love for people and love for the city, where Don Palmer, my dearest friend, and I have helped. Because we were mentoring in the city, just the two of us, and guys joined us, and now we're, like I mentioned, 1,500 guys on the mailing list, and a couple hundred who are really core and doing some wonderful stuff together in the city. So that takes a lot of time. We're trying to turn it over to the next generation. So what you guys are doing with 777, that's exactly what Don and I dream of. Is we need to back off and turn this thing over, this movement that is snowballing like crazy over the next gen. Polk Stables, I mentioned too, dear Sergeant George has really taken a beautiful, risky vision of his to create something that is really ground zero for this redemptive economy, redemptive entrepreneurship, redemption of the neighborhood and the community, welcoming people in and being welcomed in, not forcing our way. So really appreciate him. My best friend, Mike Evans, and what he's doing. He's been a long-standing business owner, down in the city too. Just people like that who are involved in this network, whether it be entrepreneurs, business owners, but loving the city well. That takes up all my time, nurturing and being part of that community. I have my family at home too, and which is really a beautiful thing. But we have.
Are there any specific metrics you track? How you're doing your new job well?
I track. So how is my time being allocated? Is Sabbath for me? I say we have lousy Sabbaths because we have lousy work. And so I'm really in the flow of the work God has called me to. And so rest is really important, especially as I age, but a true Sabbath and not feeling guilty about taking that break. So for me, having the discipline of getting on my bike, no earbuds, or anything, just enjoying nature. I like biking through Eagle Creek Park, where I live near there. So that's really beautiful. So that's one rhythm. Allocating my time to be at Polk Stables just on Thursdays and Fridays. I will be there Monday through Wednesday if necessary, but saying if you want to meet and be there at Polk, those are the days I'm going to be there. So it's sort of being intentional about how to parse my time out. George Gilder flipped the notion that when people say time is money, get to work. You've probably heard that before. Time is money. You can't waste it. He flipped it and said, no, money is just a measure of time. You see, if we're in this for the long haul, guess what's never going to end? We're in the resurrection, right? Time is infinite. Right? Now, there is no more time ultimately, but because who knows about space-time continuum, but the point is, if you operate from a money is just one measure of time, we move from a scarcity mindset, i.e. no money, to an abundance mindset, time. We have infinite time. And as followers of Jesus, we may not have much money, but we know we have infinite time. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. And so that mindset is really important for us and for me, how I spend my time, but I can chill out because I know he's got it and I don't have to worry about these things.
Well, there's still work to be done eternally.
Lots of work, always.
It's in the Bible. Like you will have a position.
That's
and
right.
You will be rewarded responsibility depending on how you handle responsibility here on earth. So it's something for us all to consider. Like
that's right. Humans are born to work, to curate the garden. That was
Everyone's
Adam and
been
Eve.
wired to carry out a mission and a calling.
That's right.
And I think that calling will probably continue.
Without
it definitely will continue. Right?
God's so expansive and he's infinite, right? Who knows what he has called us to be and do with, but it's going to be with him. We aren't going to rebel anymore.
Yeah,
See,
Max will still be making systems and spreadsheets in heaven, and I'll still be taking coffee meetings.
I don't know if
that I could escape my queue.
Why not?
But you're like, hopefully dollars won't
coffee
be a thing.
without too much acidity.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Goodness, that acid reflux will get you.
To tie all this together, we came up with a little bit of a fun gamified task here. Mm-hmm. You're called up to give a presentation in front of just an audience of 500 young entrepreneurs.
Right.
What is your 2-minute pitch to the next generation?
Come and see. You want an adventure? You're born for adventure. You ain't seen nothing until you follow Jesus. You don't know where he's going to take you, but I'll guarantee you it's going to be hard. You're going to have to trust him with everything you got. You willing to do that? You willing to climb that mountain? But that mountain may start off picking up trash off the street. In other words, to think, I'm going to go change the world, that's a beautiful desire. But it might mean the most ordinary of things that you're called to do. But you're faithful in doing that. First and foremost, loving your neighbor as yourself. What does that mean? That means you've been given love, to receive it, to not apologize for it, and then to share it. That's the greatest adventure. And if that's your engine and the oil that powers your engine, where Jesus takes you, I just say best wishes, because you're in for the time of your life. So that's what he's calling us to do. Come and see. Check him out. There's lots of things that you think he is. People say, this is Jesus, this is Jesus. Don't believe it. All kinds of false stuff going on. Anything that approaches violence in any way, or subjugation or oppression or theft, this is mine, I'm going to take. That's why that notion of redemptive entrepreneurship, of practicing not just pushing against exploitation, baselining what's ethical, but moving towards the redemptive edge, which means the creative restoration of life through sacrifice. If you're called to sacrifice, but in a way that is doing what God wants you to do, I can guarantee you, I promise you, young man, young woman, you're going to have the time of your life, and you'll do it with others who are like-minded, which is beautiful. You can't do it alone. So I don't know if that's 2 minutes or not, but that's all I can say.
Exactly 2 minutes. Okay. No, you're 1 second off. You got no. Larry Browning came on our podcast, and he said for a long time it was be ethical, right? Treat people how you'd want to be treated. And then he realized there was another level, which was beyond ethics,
right?
Which I think is that redemptive edge. That I love that phrasing, redemptive edge.
Yes.
There's an edge to it.
The Praxis Redemptive book.
Yes.
It's so short, so sweet, but so practical when you put the redemptive arm of business into practice.
Right.
And that's something that we almost try to put first and foremost. It matters more than anything else to us. It's the pillar.
Everything feels off if it's not there.
Yes.
Right. It's like a staleness of like transactional. Everything doesn't have like a glow.
Right.
There's like a heavenly glow to when you're doing things for a truly missional, redemptive reason. It's hard. Right. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're all worried about provision and this and that and getting yours, but
what does it get you?
It doesn't get you anywhere.
That's right.
People get it, and then their marriages and fall off the cliff, and their kids.
You have an abundance, and
relationships
your peace index gets ruined, and you have none, and your peace index gets ruined again.
I always say I know a hedge fund manager that has his divorce lawyer on speed dial. It's like he doesn't have wealth.
Yeah, no way.
He doesn't have wealth.
You guys are the richest young men in the world because you may not have a lot of wealth, but you've got the love, and you can't buy love, and there's nothing greater. Greater love has no man than this, than he lay down his life for his friends. That's the real secret.
I love it. We have some rapid fire questions to end with. So, Greg, what is your favorite restaurant in Indianapolis?
Okay, I'm biased. It's not online yet, but it's coming. It's called Montgomery's. It's my son's restaurant with his partners at Julietta's. Julietta's serves the finest tacos in the Midwest. They're in the Stutz building, 10th and Capitol. They've taken over a new 60-seat space there that was a former coffee parlor. They're in the Stutz building, and they hope to come online about June of this year with a restaurant called Montgomery's, named after Wes Montgomery, the famous jazz guitarist that a lot of preeminent guitarists have tried to emulate. So that will be my favorite restaurant. I can guarantee you, though, the food's great because he's been curating his menu with some pop-ups, the best sandwiches and burgers and sides.
Love the name. What type of food is it?
So it's an American base, but his partners are Hispanic, Julietta's, and they fuse different things with it.
They're so good.
You're going to see an American base with international fusion on top of it from time to time.
I love going to. I take it home, carry out for my wife all the time. I think they are the best tacos.
Isn't that the best?
In the city? They're amazing.
And people say $5 taco. Have you seen the size of those tacos?
No, they're good.
It's 3 or 4 tacos based in put in one. So that's my favorite coming up is Montgomery's.
Yeah,
we'll have to keep that on our radar.
Yeah, right in the Stutz building.
What is one habit that has changed your life?
I think one habit that has changed my life is being called to task by my dear wife, who over the years has realized that when I come across conflict, I try to prevent conflict. That's my sense of how do I look ahead and say, oh, there might be conflict there. How do I make sure we don't get it? But when it comes, I've tended to shy away and like a turtle, crawl up into my shell and just protect myself. Self-preservation. And she's called me to task and said, Greg, you need to develop a habit of being vulnerable, of not crawling up, not silencing your mouth, not silencing your actions, but to be liberated by coming outside that shell and just admit your mistakes. If you've made a mistake, admit where you were wrong, admit where you may have fallen short, and not try to defend yourself. That's the habit that over the past few years has been incredibly important to me living my life.
I love that.
Yeah. Walk in the light.
Yes.
The truth will set you free.
That's
They're
right.
Cliche, but
No.
they're so
It's
true.
powerful.
It's hard,
It's
but it's,
very
yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, I love the clearing the air conversations with my wife of just like, here's where I've sucked. And then she's like reciprocating, and we were like so like tense and like against each other. And it's like, it just softens, melts butter.
Nothing better. Can I just share? I just wish the church was like that. I know I'm a part of it and I haven't practiced that, but that's what we're called to be around the Lord's table. Paul says, don't come to the table if you have something against your brother, make it right. We aren't doing that. No. And that's why we're in the shape we're in, because we have not been Jesus people with each other, loving each other honestly, with clarity that way. So,
yeah, there'd be more of our generation still in the church if we had been that way.
That's right.
But young men are coming back in droves. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole other podcast.
Last question here for you.
Sure.
If you had a billboard, I could say one thing in Indy, what would you put on it?
Indianapolis, the joy capital of the world.
Should have known that answer.
It's a perfect
love
way
it.
to end it.
We're going to see it soon.
Indianapolis, the joy capital of the world. I think we should put out at the end of the year like a poll on the best one, because we've asked that question to every guest at some point in the episode, and go buy the billboard and put it up.
Guess what my dad said for that question?
Do you really want me to guess?
I mean, no, I would not really, but
hustle your way to heaven.
That's good. That's good.
funny. It's combining the hustle aspect with the redemptive or Christian aspect. I don't know if they mesh super well on that. It sounds like a works-based religion, but it was faith over fear. Which is, he never would have became an entrepreneur or done high school hustle or done anything gamble if he didn't take that step into
Do the faith.
That's right.
jumping off the salary in the W-2 position.
That's
to
right.
Bet on himself.
I love that. One of my favorite verses is perfect love casts out all fear. Ultimately, it's that love. It just dispels it, and that's what I walked into.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good.
Thanks, Greg, for coming on the podcast. Where can people
Tyler,
find out more
Max.
about you if they want to get involved?
Well, they can check out polkstables.com to find out where we're planning this ground zero for the redemptive economy of the state. They can check out Citizen 7 Indy, numeral 7, citizen7indy.com if you're a guy, to be a part of this great movement of men loving each other and out of authentic friendship overflowing to love for the city. And that's why I want to give another prop to 777. You got to sign up for that. What's the website for 777, Max?
Yeah, indystreetsweep.com. You can sign up there and come join us on July 7th this year and pick up some trash.
It's going to be beautiful. And then with the Praxis Redemptive Entrepreneurship, if you're a founder, if you're a owner-operator, and Max, you mentioned the playbook, the business playbook, and want to have resources that will allow you to move towards that redemptive edge with your business, check out praxis.co. There's free resources there, free playbooks, and we meet regularly. And we're actually standing up a new iteration of Praxis here. You'll be hearing about it, where you'll be invited to a number of different things, and really excited about that movement going too.
That's amazing. This has been another episode of the Roots Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and sign up to come pick up trash. Peace.